It's time to say hello to the MG Vanguard. Just because it has 3 rows of seats, that's not reason enough to call it Vanguard. And sure, it does look threatening, especially the way the LED DRLs seem to be staring down at you, but that's still no reason to call this the Vanguard. It's the Vanguard because, like the vehicle on which this is based, the 2-row Hector, which paid homage to the Royal Hector biplane, this should be named after a British warship, we thought, because it, after all, has these distinguishing captain's seats. So, will this Hector Plus float your boat, or should you stick to the high-flying Hector? Hector Plus. So what's plus about it? Well, one thing's for sure, the face looks meaner, and that's down to these eye-like detailings that you can see here in the LED DRLs. And the headlamp unit is still down here, but it's also been redesigned. And one of the cool things, of course, you still get LED units everywhere here on the top-end variant, but what's really cool is that the turn indicators have also been very neatly integrated over here, which look quite cool. And that frameless grille, well, it's plain massive, isn't it? Sheet metal has been redrawn too. You can see that here with the tailgate, which has a very prominent crease now, at the center of which sits that MG logo. And you of course get reworked tail lamps, which have these really cool layered LED units for the turn indicators. But what is a bit off-putting is that the innermost bits do not light up, and it almost seems like something isn't working. Similarly, what isn't working are those dual exhaust tips. These are 4 exhaust tips here. And that would be fine if it weren't for the fact that it's so easy to spot the actual exhaust underneath. And of course, along with that, the entire bumper has been redesigned, which adds to the bulk at the rear. But that kind of makes the Hector feel narrower than before. When in fact, the only thing that's changed, that's gone plus plus, is the length when you compare the Hector Plus to the Hector. The Hector Plus, when it comes to width, height and wheelbase, is the same as the Hector. What else is same? The sides are the same. So are the alloy wheels, and I think that is one area where a difference could easily have been made and would have been great. Same. The dashboard, it's the same, right, in terms of design. But I will say that the finish, when it comes to the stitching, it's neater. The way the leather's wrapped is better. So it just looks better put together. And like with the Hector, this is feature loaded. And of course, on this top-end variant, you get that panoramic sunroof, the 10.4-inch screen with connected car technology, you get the 360-degree camera, 7-inch MID for the driver's instrument cluster, and the Infinity sound system is just as impressive as before. But the Hector's niggles are also carried forward here with the Plus. For instance, finding a right seating position for somebody like me who is 5 feet 6 inches can be a bit tricky because the rake adjustment for the steering doesn't go quite all that low. And if you use the seat height adjust, yes, you do have powered seats for the driver and for the front passenger, it kind of tilts you forward when you raise the seat height. So yeah, there are those things that you have to get your head around. So what's different? Let's say you were to set sail on a lonely journey without a chief mate and you were feeling a bit chatty. Well, then the Hector Plus has something for you called Chit-chat. Hello, MG.
I'm listening.
How old are you?
Age is just a number.
Hello, MG.
I'm here.
How am I looking?
Pardon?
How am I looking?
Sorry, but I still didn't get that. Please try again.
How am I looking?
Beautiful as always, darling.
Flatterer, but might not be a great conversationalist, if you get what I mean. Well, let's move from the bridge to the cabin, and this does feel more upmarket because of this tan color for the leatherette. And this cabin itself was always very spacious, be it in terms of width, the headroom on offer, or the knee room. But now with these captain seats, which are on rails, you can slide them back and forth, opening up so much more knee room here, right? You can really lounge around, you can recline the seats to really chill out. You have these nice armrests to support you as well. But MG has missed a couple of tricks. If they had raised the hip point for these seats, the under thigh support would have felt better. There was something that we thought was a bit lacking even on the Hector. And of course, there are no cup holders on offer for the middle row of seats. No, I haven't forgotten about the third row. I just want to show you that getting there is a bit like going to the boiler room. The seats don't tumble and fold, and it slides forward just this much, so getting in requires some amount of dexterity. So you might not want to ask somebody you love to do this because they might stop loving you. Instead, the easier thing to do is to, well, walk down the aisle when you want to get to the third row and make sure to adjust the middle row before you sit down. That's because there are no straps or levers here for you to adjust the middle row seats from the third row. And as you can see, in terms of space, well, there's enough knee room for somebody like me who's 5'6", and yes, you can seat somebody who's not too tall like me in all three rows with a decent amount of space on offer. But there are a few shortcomings, right? You can see that the seat is set quite low, so I'm sitting quite knees up. So in that sense, this would be better suited, despite the reasonable amount of headroom, better suited for kids or, well, even smaller adults than me. And in terms of features, you do get two cup holders here, a USB socket, cup holder on the other side, aircon vents, dedicated aircon vents with 5-speed speed control. And well, there are a few niggles with that as well. Firstly, the positioning, it's, well, kind of side on, as you can see. And the other thing is, if you want to turn it towards you, this actually ends up closing the aircon vents. Glad to be out of there. And when it comes to space, boot space, well, there's a little bit of convenience when accessing that. This has to be one of the most responsive systems we've experienced of this feature on any car till date. Still something that seems maybe something that you'll end up getting used to. And when you see the boot space on offer, you could put in a small suitcase or a couple of soft bags here, but there is added convenience because you can flip down one seat and still pack in a good amount of luggage here, even when you have a fifth passenger on board. And if you flip both seats down, so you're not compromising in terms of practicality of boot space. So how is the Hector Plus when it comes to driving? Let's talk about the engine options first. When it comes to the petrols, you have the non-hybrid petrol, which comes with only the dual clutch transmission, and then you have the petrol hybrid, which is available only with the manual transmission. When it comes to diesel power, it is the Fiat Source 2-liter engine, which is on offer with a 6-speed manual transmission only. Now, of course, all these engines are BS6 compliant and they are unchanged from the Hector. So the drive experience is pretty familiar. We are driving the diesel here right now. You've got good punch from it, not the most refined engine out there, at least in this configuration, but very usable. And the only complaint we have is, yes, the clutch is a bit heavy, but more importantly, just the way it bites in, the way it responds at times at slow speeds, at inclines, you end up stalling it every so often. To drive, the Hector Plus, again, has great ride quality for rough roads. So if you're traveling long distances over surfaces you don't know what you're going to encounter, then this is a friendly companion. And it is a friendly companion as well on highways because it is fairly planted and composed. Don't expect it to be, well, sporty and tight through the corners. It does roll around, so you need to drive it just that step down, just like the Hector, because really, there really isn't any change from there. Before we sum up the Hector Plus, I have to let you know that at the time of reviewing it, we did not have the prices on hand. So if you want to find out how much the Hector Plus costs, what's the difference with the Hector, and compare it with other vehicles, download the ZigWheels app and get to know the prices and the details on your phone. Well, coming to the Hector Plus, where is it making the step up? Well, in terms of the drive experience, it's pretty much the same as the Hector, which is to say it rides well over poor roads. It's safe even at high speeds, but not exactly engaging or very sharp. The drivetrains are capable, but not the most polished around. So where is the Plus making that step up? Well, effectively, it's with the captain seats, which give you the added sense of premiumness, the added sense of comfort, and of course, greater practicality for a family without compromising on boot space. So, if you are looking to set course for an MG showroom, we'd suggest you plus it up.